I'm going live on my the Truck Safety Coalition Facebook page. I'm going live on my Truck Safety Coalition Facebook profile, and I'm going live on my personal profile. So we've been going live every hour today on Giving Tuesday. I have to adjust these devices. If you could only see right now. So we've been going live every hour today on Giving Tuesday to try to spread our message, our mission, and get folks engaged and excited for the Truck Safety Coalition and what we do, and to ask you for your support. And so I've been live with other people all day, and this time it's just me. So this could be a doozy. So I am, for those of you on a live feed that is not my profile, my name is Kelli McClelland. I am the program manager for the first response program at the Truck Safety Coalition. I do not just work for the Truck Safety Coalition. My family was hit by a semi, and I wrote down a couple notes. I just wanted to show a couple pictures. This is my stepmom, Susan, at my college, my undergraduate graduation in 2009. And then these are my two younger brothers, just a couple of months before our crash. And so I'm going to take you to August 16th, 2010. My family, my stepmom and my two younger brothers were headed back from a family trip. They had gone, there's a picnic every year at my stepmom Susan's parents' house. And they had gone. My dad and I didn't go that year for various reasons. And they were headed back, and about an hour into their trip, they were slowed for construction just outside of Akron, Ohio, on the Ohio Turnpike. And they were going about 5 miles an hour. They were behind a semi, and a semi pulling 3 trailers. The driver dozed off at the wheel. And by the time he came to and realized what was happening, he was not able to stop, and he slammed into Susan's car and pushed her and the boys under the semi in front of them. And Susan was killed. She was pronounced dead at the scene, and Peter and Matthew were both seriously injured, but they survived miraculously. I heard somebody else say today that Anna said this earlier, that the paramedics and first responders didn't think that there was any survivors. And the first responders for our crash didn't actually know that there was a person in the back seat because it was so demolished until my brother reached his hand up. So to avoid a whole blubber fest of tears, I will move past that. So Matthew was 12 at the time, and he survived with a very severe traumatic brain injury that has changed his life and our lives forever. We didn't know if he would make it for about a week. It was touch and go. And then my brother Peter was 16 at the time, and he survived with mainly skeletal injuries. So I was at work, and I got a phone call from my dad. And he said, I don't know, anybody who's received this phone call probably can relate. It was like very quiet in the background, and his voice was very like monotone. And he asked me what I was doing, and I said, I'm working. And he said, can you sit down? Are you with anybody? And I just started yelling, what happened? And he said, there's been an accident. Susan's dead. And at that moment, my whole world just fell apart. Everything changed. And at that point, we didn't know if the boys were going to survive. We didn't know their condition. I just had to get on a plane to Akron, Ohio as quickly as possible. We lived just outside Baltimore. So I did. And I remember packing a bag and thinking, I don't know how many funerals I'm going to have to go to. And so I got to Ohio, that first week in the hospital, not knowing if Matthew was going to survive, having to deal with what do we do with Susan's body? All of it. It was just so much. It was so overwhelming. I had an inclination that we needed an attorney. So I told my dad, we should hire an attorney. My older brother was like, no. And I said, I really think we do. And so we hired this estate attorney who was not equipped to handle the case at all. I ended up getting a brochure in the mail from the Truck Safety Coalition. And I don't know to this day if they sent it to the hospital or to my family's apartment in Maryland. But somehow within that first week, we got a brochure in the mail. And what I will never forget is that it said, "You're not alone." And I was so moved by that statement. And then I also read that the trucking company can destroy evidence if you don't tell them not to within a certain amount of time. I learned that there are lawyers that specialize in truck crashes. I learned that there's a conference called Sorrow to Strength, where victims and families get together, support each other, and advocate for change. I learned, those are the main things that I remember. And I showed my dad this, and I said, "Dad, there's a whole group, there's a whole community of people." And so we ended up utilizing the resources from the Truck Safety Coalition to find an attorney that was equipped to handle our case. And thank God, because Matthew survived, and Matthew is not the same. And Matthew will never be independent. He is in a wheelchair. He needs constant supervision. He makes terrible decisions and is really impulsive. And he needs somebody with him all the time. And he will for the rest of his life. And he needs, I mean, I don't know who anybody thinks should pay for that, but it shouldn't be us, and it shouldn't be the taxpayers. It should be the person who caused this. So in any case, we're very lucky that we were connected with a well-equipped attorney. We do have a ton of resources on our site about finding the right attorney, asking questions, things that they should know, things that they should do right away. That is an invaluable resource for anybody who's going through this. And if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We know there's advertisements all over TV, and lawyers are reaching out to you, and you don't know where to go. We've all been through it, and we're here to offer our experience. So anyway, that was the first awesome thing that the Truck Safety Coalition did for us. The other thing that it did is that right away, my dad pretty quickly got really involved in advocacy work. And seeing him be able to share this story and in a way that could make meaningful change was so powerful. And I know that made a big difference for him and his process of grieving and dealing with, one of the things I think probably anybody who's been through this kind of tragedy will relate to this as well. You think, how did this happen? How do I make sure that this doesn't happen again? So that is what the Truck Safety Coalition did, is gave us a platform, a way to fight back, a way to try to find solutions. We learned a lot about driver fatigue. A couple of things that I've learned since our crash happened is that we're really lucky that we got hit by a huge trucking company who could compensate us for Matthew's care for the rest of his life. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people are hit by independent owner operators who have the federal minimum, which is $750,000, except most people can't get a policy that low. So they have $1 million policy. And that wouldn't have taken care of my brothers for the first month in the hospital, let alone all of Matthew's care since then and all of Peter's surgeries. And there's just no way. So that's something that I'm now painfully aware of. And I, as a first response, the person who does the first response work, I talk to people all the time who are never going to be able to reclaim any sense of normalcy after their crash because the company was not adequately insured. I also learned about automatic emergency braking, which is a technology that was available in 2010, not as widely as it is now. And if that truck had been equipped with AEB, I wouldn't be here today. Matthew would be working in a career. Maybe he would have a girlfriend if he had anything to do with it. Life would be very different for us than it is. And the other thing I learned about is underride guards, that the underride guards that you see on the back of trucks are not adequate. They're not required to be tested. They're not required to be maintained. And they don't stand up to impact. And so had there been an adequate underride guard on that truck that my family was behind, again, we also may not be here having this conversation today. So those are some things that I have learned about issues, and there are so many more issues, and I would encourage you all to learn about them. And it's, I think that as the general motoring public, we just see semis and we're like a little bit nervous about them, a little bit nervous about, how big they are and, what the damage they can cause. But once this happens to you, all of a sudden, every semi on the road. I had never heard of the company that hit my family. And it's a huge national company, and I had never heard of them. And since August 16th, 2010, I have seen an Estes truck, at least 3 times a week. And I know I see every semi on the road, and every time I'm slowed in traffic, I recognize if there's a truck behind me. So these are things to learn about, because they affect all of us, and you don't know when that day is going to come that it might actually personally affect you. A couple of other things I just wanted to mention are about how the Truck Safety Coalition has changed my life. And then I'm going to talk about briefly about the first response program and what we do and why we need your support. So when our crash first happened, in that first 6 months, I was devastated. I was lost. Things were in shambles. Matthew was in inpatient rehab. Peter was, in a wheelchair. My dad is dealing with all of this as a single parent all of a sudden. And his wife is not here. And it was a lot, and people would try to offer their condolences. And it was I so wanted to appreciate it, but I really felt like, you have no idea what I'm going through. And I just wanted to connect to other people who knew something about what I was going through. And there just was nothing. And I was sitting on the couch laying on the couch one day. And at the time, Joe Biden was vice president. And I had known that his family was in a truck crash, but I didn't remember, it's like one of those things that kind of just it was in my memory bank somewhere. And he was speaking on the news, and I remembered about his crash, and I thought, oh my gosh, he's a vice president. Maybe, just maybe one day I will also be okay again. Maybe we'll be okay. And I wrote a letter or an email to the White House just saying, hey, I just want to say thank you for, sort of being okay, and for living your life in a way that shows me that can happen for me too. And he wrote me a letter about 6 months later that I keep with me on my desk where I work and reach out to families. And I read it regularly, and I share it with people, because it is a really powerful example of how one victim can impact another victim in a way that other people can't. So it says, Dear Kelli, thank you for your kind email. I apologize for not reaching out to you sooner. There are no words I can say to ease the pain you and your family are going through. I promise you, though, that one day your stepmom's memory will bring a smile to your face rather than a tear to your eye. I truly hope that your brothers are doing okay. And just as importantly, I hope that you are doing okay as well. This tragedy may not have affected you physically, but emotionally you are carrying a heavy load. I will be keeping you all in my thoughts and prayers. Thanks again for reaching out to me. It means a lot. And so what that is, it does happen to be a political figure, but what that says to me is a person who's been through this can help another person in a way that is so meaningful and so powerful. And so in my role as the first response, as running the first response program, I reach out to people every day, Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekends. I reach out to people who have just gone through this. We try to find crashes as quickly as we can after they happen, and then search for family and friends and reach out to the community that was affected by this crash and just let them know you're not alone. If you have questions, we're here. We can help you. We can guide you. We've been there. We started a peer support group about 1.5 years ago, which has been just amazing. It's on Facebook. If you want to be a part of it, let me know. It is private, but I can add you. And it is just an awesome source of support where somebody can go and say, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what's next. I don't know what do I do? And immediately there are people there who say, oh, I get it. This is what I did. And that is just an awesome, sort of thing that we get to provide for each other as fellow survivors and victims. I wrote some notes here, and I think those are the main things that I wanted to cover, but I just want to ask for your donation. It's not an organization, it's not saving homeless animals or, providing kids with school supplies. And it's an issue that I think a lot of times people don't think about, but it is an important issue. And if you think about the amount of effort that we have put into beating back rollbacks on truck safety legislation. You can't even imagine, like, if we weren't here, what things would look like on the roads. It's a world that I don't want to live in. And so we all need us to be here. And Jeff mentioned this earlier, that we are, the country needs us. We really do need to be here. And you can trust that as long as we're here, we are in DC sharing our stories, trying to make sure that things don't get worse. And we're doing our best to make things better, to make sure that trucks have AEB, that they have proper underwrite guards, so that this doesn't happen. It doesn't have to happen. And so your support enables that work. And the other thing on the other side of it is that because these crashes do still happen, because we don't have, a magic wand to implement all of the legislative changes that we would like to see happen, the crashes do happen. And to be there for other people, I know from personal experience, and because I offer support now to other people, I know that hand reaching out is invaluable. So please consider supporting us. I can't believe I successfully went live on 3 platforms. Well, the same platform, but 3 profiles at the same time. Thank you all so much for being here and tuning in all day. We'll be back at 3 with Tammy, one of our longtime board members. And then we'll be back at 4. You don't want to miss that. Zach's going to be talking about all the legislative things that are happening, which is really, like I said, really important stuff to know about. We just appreciate all of your support. And I also, this community, I started working for the TSC 3 years ago, and being a part of this community has been a real highlight of my life, because it's just, not just people who understand what I'm going through, but it's just such an incredible collection of people. And so I just appreciate you all sharing your lives with me as the person who's doing the first response outreach. And I just ask that you would consider donating. It's going to take me a minute to log off all of these live videos, but thank you so much for watching.